Hi, this is Sav,
Katie,
and Caitlin
from The Accidentals. You're listening to your morning coffee podcast with our friends Jay Gilbert and Mike Etchart.
Weekly music news for the new music business.
From Murray Stassen at Music Business Worldwide, Warner Music Group strikes landmark deal with Suno, settles copyright lawsuit.
And from Jem Oswald at Variety, it's about time Spotify raised subscription prices in the U.S.
And from our friend Kristen Robinson at Billboard, in staff memo, iHeartRadio exec says company won't play AI music or use AI-generated personalities. Well, it is our post-Thanksgiving show. Hopefully everyone had a wonderful weekend, and we are glad you're here. It's time to start the show right about now.
Stand by for transmission.
This is London calling.
Wake up! The revolution is at hand! Your morning coffee is on the air. On the air, on the air, on the air, on the air, on the air. Standing by. Your morning coffee, the weekly music news for the new music business. It's the highly curated, agitated, advocated, moderated, and liberated digital music information that you need to know. We are your digital music authority. And now from our studios in Hollywood, California, here's your hosts, Jay Gilbert and Mike Etchart.
I love that, Jay. That is fabulous.
Yeah, Christmas in L.A. That's the Accidentals. That's from their new album, from Sonus Borealis, a holiday winter collection. You know, they're my favorite band on the planet. And this album was recorded with the Kaboom Studio Orchestra. Just absolutely fantastic. Available everywhere.
Well, and it's time to put all that holiday music on the whatever device you have and start listening. And what are your kind of faves? I mean, there's so many fabulous things, and it's kind of a family deal what we do. We put certain things on every year, every year without fail.
Yeah, we do too. And I'll tell you a few of mine. I'd love to hear a few of yours. You know, the Beach Boys Christmas album is just flawless, and it's not Christmas without that. I love things like the Beatles. You know, they put together these little Christmas messages, and they're all put together in one album, and it's sort of fun to listen to. But there's one I was talking to you about earlier that is available on streaming services. It's by the Rubber Band, and the album is called Xmas, the Beatmas, and it's classic Christmas songs done in the style of early Mop Top Beatles, and I listen to it every year, and it's just absolutely fun. But what are some of your favorites?
Well, it wouldn't be Christmas without the Charlie Brown Christmas album.
Oh, yeah,
of course,
Vince Guaraldi.
With Vince Guaraldi, the fabulous Vince Guaraldi. There's a wonderful Motown Christmas album. I think it came out back in '73 that we still play.
Is that like a compilation of different?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And then there's a great Nat King Cole, The Magic of Christmas. I think it came out in 1960. Fabulous. And I still spin the Now Christmas records, because those are great.
They really are.
Like 3 of them or 4. I can't remember how many there are. But
great compilations.
It's a great compilation, exactly. So all of that stuff, fun to put them on. Yeah. How about this past Friday, Black Friday Record Store Day 2025? 12 releases worth digging for. This is from Ron Hart at Billboard. Record store co-founder Michael Kurtz explained to Billboard there were about 175 RSD or Record Store Day titles total this year. So it's about half the number of releases we normally do for Record Store Day in April.
Yeah, our friend Michael went on to say that our goal is to try to provide a list of records that would enable a music fan to find 2 or 3 that they would love or give as a gift during the holidays. And he says, I think we accomplished that. So congratulations, Michael and the team, on another fantastic Record Store Day. Now, those 12 releases worth digging for that Ron Hart wrote about in Billboard, here are those 12. Number 12, Icona Pop featuring Charlie XCX. That's the I Love It EP. Number 11, Auto by Sweaty Pool. Number 10, Van Halen live at Wembley, 1995. Man, those Rhino releases are so good. Number 9, Billy Joel live from Long Island. Number 8, Alan Silvestri, and that's the Back to the Future trilogy.
Right, and number 7 is Bob Dylan, the original freewheelin' Bob Dylan. Number 6 is Ronnie Diodario, written by. Number 5, Fleetwood Mac, live in 1975. Number 4 is Post Malone, Long Bed. Number 3 is Chappell Roan, The Subway with The Giver 7-inch vinyl single. Number 2 is Linda Perry, In Flight. And number 1 is Bad Brains, live at the Bayou.
Yeah, but like you said, there's 175. And they're not all sold out on Record Store Days, so you're not too late. Get to your local record store. There's so many of these Record Store Day things for your collection. We had the Your Morning Coffee special episode, conversation with Livia Tortella. She's from Black Box. That is live. I got to sit down with Livia to talk about how the business has evolved in the last 10 years since she launched Black Box. And we talked about the importance of real fan engagement, deep dive onboarding. That was super interesting. Artist development, and so much more.
Yep, but if you don't know Livia, she is the founder and CEO, as you said, of Black Box Music Agency, celebrating their 10-year anniversary. But she is much more. She's a mentor, collaborator, and team player who has an incredible track record from Polygram Canada to Island Def Jam Music Group, Atlantic Records, and on to co-president of Warner Brothers Records.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. Before we jump into the news, special shout out to a cool Cal State Northridge music business student, Sarah Grand Prix. She listens to the podcast and shares it with her fellow students. Thanks, Sarah. We really appreciate you. I'll be joining Seven Bailey and Dave Bakula at Cal State Northridge this week. They have an incredible music business program, and I enjoy collaborating with them, if I can spit it out. I can't wait.
Easy for you to say,
exactly.
Indeed. And again, when I think back to my college experience, if only these programs would have been around then. That would have been really, really awesome.
Yeah.
Here are a few stories, by the way, in the news this week that grabbed our attention. The first one from Rachel Scharf over at Billboard. StubHub faces investor class action lawsuit over false and misleading IPO.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, StubHub, they've been hit with a class action lawsuit, and it alleges that the secondary ticketing company hid key cash flow changes from investors who bought into its $758 million IPO in September.
Right. The legal complaint filed in New York federal court this last Monday is the first of what's likely to be multiple lawsuits stemming from StubHub's disappointing third quarter earnings report. At least 4 other law firms have announced that they're also investigating the company's numbers.
Yeah, Monday's lawsuit was brought on behalf of Daniel Salabaj, an investor who bought StubHub stock during its IPO on September 17th. StubHub sold roughly 34 million shares that day at about $23.50 a pop, netting $758 million after underwriter discounts and fees.
So StubHub released its first earnings as a public company on November 13th, and some of the numbers were less than optimal. The company revealed that it had free cash flow of negative $4.6 million that quarter, down from a positive $10.6 million in the same period a year earlier. The market reacted negatively, not surprisingly, with the StubHub stock at one point tumbling as low as $10.31 per share, which is a 56% decline from the IPO price.
Ouch. The lawsuit alleges he and other investors were blindsided by the news of StubHub's cash flow decrease, which the company attributed to changes in its vendor payment schedules. He says that while StubHub's pre-IPO registration statement warned quarterly earnings could fluctuate due to the timing of major sporting events and concerts, this particular factor was glaringly omitted from the regulatory paperwork. Very interesting.
Very interesting indeed. This is from Rachel Scharf over at Billboard. Taylor Swift fans score win in lawsuit over Taylor Swift's Eras Tour disaster. Hundreds of Taylor Swift fans have won a key court victory, allowing them to move forward with a blockbuster lawsuit over Ticketmaster's botched sale of Eras Tour tickets 3 years ago.
Right. The lawsuit was the first in a series of cases brought by Swifties in the wake of Ticketmaster's infamous Eras Tour pre-sale in November of 2022. A previous version of the complaint was dismissed this past May as legally deficient, whatever that means. But in a Monday order, a California federal judge says revised antitrust claims against Ticketmaster and his parent company, Live Nation, are now strong enough to survive.
So citing the Department of Justice's ongoing effort to break up Live Nation and Ticketmaster, 357 of Swift's fans claim the company's monopolistic control over both ticketing and major concert venues has shut out all competition and allowed them to operate a shoddy sales platform. The lawsuit says this led to a massive disaster when overwhelming bot traffic created technical issues during Ticketmaster's Eras Tour pre-sale, depriving many fans of the chance to buy face value tickets.
Ticketmaster argued there's an inherent problem with the Swifties relying on the U.S. government's antitrust suit for their monopoly claims, as the DOJ case focuses on Live Nation's deals with arenas and amphitheaters, not the stadiums where Swift performed her Eras Tour. But the Monday court ruling rejected this argument.
So Judge Wu is thus allowing the antitrust claims to move forward into evidence discovery, though he trimmed away other breach of contract and fraud claims brought by the Swifties. That part of the lawsuit claimed Ticketmaster lied when it promised to keep bots and scalpers away from the pre-sale, and that the platform falsely said it would give priority access to fans who'd bought merch for Swift's Midnight's album or tickets to the star's canceled 2020 Loverfest.
The issue with the contract, claims Judge Wu, is that Ticketmaster never actually made these promises in any enforceable agreement. And according to the judge, the consumer fraud claims don't work because Ticketmaster believed it was telling the truth when it advertised the terms of the Eras Tour pre-sale.
A lawyer for the Swift fans, Jennifer Kinder, said in a statement to Billboard this last Tuesday that they are ecstatic to finally be moving towards our day in court.
Right. Kinder said, Ticketmaster has spent the past 2 years trying every legal trick to have their case dismissed. Judge Wu has ruled that they will not be able to escape a jury trial. The people of Los Angeles will decide the legality of Ticketmaster's monopoly.
Reps for Ticketmaster did not return a request for comment. Swift's team did not return a request for comment either, though the star previously had some choice words for Ticketmaster when the presale imploded back in November of 2022. Hard to believe that was 3 years ago.
Yeah, and there was a second Ticketmaster-related story this week. We'll touch on that really briefly, and that is from Lars Brandl over at Billboard. The headline was, Ticketmaster caps resale prices for Olivia Dean's tour following, quote-unquote, disgusting service blast. So Olivia Dean spoke, and Ticketmaster has taken action. Last Friday, the English artist, Olivia Dean, took a moment out of her busy schedule to lay one on Ticketmaster, Live Nation, and AEG Presents for the resale ticket prices of her 2026 North American tour.
Well, tickets to her The Art of Loving tour went on sale to the general public that day and sold out in minutes, though with some resale prices climbing into the thousands of dollars. Dean had some very harsh words.
And here's what she wrote on Instagram stories. The prices at which you're allowing tickets to be resold is vile and completely against our wishes. Live music should be affordable and accessible, and we need to find a new way of making that possible. Be better. And that was focused at Ticketmaster, at Live Nation, at AEG Presents.
Yeah, Ticketmaster is trying to do better by capping all future ticket resale prices for the tour on its platform and refunding fans for any markup they already paid to resellers on Ticketmaster.
Yeah, according to a statement from Ticketmaster, which merged with Live Nation back in 2010, Ticketmaster has activated its face value exchange for the tour with that's immediately in effect and without transfer restrictions. The move should ensure that any future ticket sales on its site are capped at the original price paid with no added fees, the message said.
So Michael Rapino, who of course is the CEO of Live Nation Entertainment, said, "We share Olivia's desire to keep live music accessible and ensure fans have the best access to affordable tickets." He went on to say, while we can't require other marketplaces to honor artists' resale preferences, we echo Olivia's call to do better and have taken steps to lead by example. We hope efforts like this help fans afford another show they've been considering or discover someone new.
Right. And after reviewing all the sales, Ticketmaster's message said that less than 20% of primary tickets were listed for resale, showing that Olivia's demand was driven by genuine fans who intended to go to the show rather than resellers out for profit.
Right. Dean had been opening for Sabrina Carpenter on the final leg of the U.S. singer's Short and Sweet tour and announced her own North American headlining trek earlier in November. Well, Interesting stuff. Hey, before we get rolling further, Jay, what do you say we thank our sponsors? We are sponsored by Hypebot. Since 2004, Hypebot has chronicled the new music industry and the trends and technologies that are changing how music is discovered, consumed, marketed, and monetized. It is edited daily by founder Bruce Houghton with help from Jeremy Young. Hypebot is published and supported by live music discovery and marketing platform Bands in Town.
Yeah, congratulations, Bands in Town. Now over 100 million live music fans trust Bands in Town to get personalized concert alerts, recommendations, and messages from their favorite artists. It's the #1 artist services platform, and it connects over 700,000 artists with their super fans. So managers, labels, agencies, and artists access their own dashboard to manage and promote their tour dates to over 4 billion music fans across all platforms.
And every week I get to hang out with my good buddy Jay Gilbert, music industry consultant, curator of the weekly Your Morning Coffee newsletter, and a former executive with Universal Music, Sony Music, and Warner Music Groups. And speaking of superfans, he is a Minnesota Vikings superfan.
Hurtful. And I get to do the show every week with Mike Etchart, longtime host of Sound and Vision Radio, formerly of SST Records, Warner Music, Capital EMI, and Universal Music Group.
And before we get going on the big stories, Jay, we've got something from our good friend Rick Beato.
Right. Rick Beato thinks that someone has already won the AI music race. And before we jump into a couple of these AI stories, I thought it'd be interesting to check in. And you sent me this video earlier this week, and I thought it was spot on. Let's listen into Rick Beato.
Hey, everybody, I'm Rick Beato. In today's episode, I'm going to tell you who I think has already won the AI music race and why. Okay, so if you go to the App Store right now and you look up the most downloaded music apps, you'll see Spotify as #1, YouTube Music #2, Shazam, which is basically like a search thing. If you're hearing a song in the mall and you want to know what it is, you hit Shazam, it'll tell you what it is. And then the 4th is Suno, the AI music app. Now, recently there have been some big announcements regarding AI music. The first is that UMG and Udio have partnered after settling a copyright lawsuit, creating a new music AI platform. The new platform launching in 2026 will be trained on licensed music from UMG's catalog, providing revenue for artists and songwriters. It doesn't say anything about the label, because you know that most of the money will actually go to the label. The original Udio platform will be altered and the existing users will be transitioned to a new model, which will have different terms of service and features, such as the ability to create music in the style of participating UMG artists. And next, in the past week, there was an announcement that Warner Music Group has reached a deal with Suno to do roughly the same thing. If you want to compare the adoption of the two AI music platforms, all you need to do is go to the App Store and look at how many reviews they have. Suno, as you can see here, has 141,000 reviews versus Udio, which has a mere 1.2 thousand. That is a massive difference. So why is Suno being adopted more than Udio? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's that it's way easier to use, way easier to create a song. Everyone that I know that's using AI, and I'm talking professional songwriters all over the place, have admitted to me privately and some on camera that they're using Suno. They just are. They're also using Claude, they're using Gemini, they're using ChatGPT, but for music creation, for ideas, for production, for melody ideas to help them complete songs. And it's not just professional musicians, it's people like me and you that are using it. My main use of it is on here to just demonstrate the features and make people aware of how these particular platforms are progressing. But a lot of people that I know that have written songs their whole lives but couldn't ever get in a studio to demo them, they're taking their songwriter demos where they're just playing acoustic guitar and singing, they're putting it in there, and they're creating what sound like professional arrangements with a professional singer. And frankly, a lot of people up in Nashville, if they want to pitch a song, instead of going in like they used to and doing a demo session with pro session players, they just put it into Suno. On Udio, they can do it legally. They're not going to be in fear of it being taken down off YouTube or off Spotify. It's all licensed. They can use the Drake AI. They can use the Ed Sheeran AI, the Bruno Mars AI. I'm sure they're going to have charts that eventually will go to Spotify once the things are actually licensed. They can play them on Spotify and they have the licensed AI things. I said this 2 years ago. There's going to be Drake and then Drake AI. There's going to be the Beatles and then the Beatles AI. This is going to be on Apple Music. It's going to be on Spotify. It's going to be everywhere. Jimi Hendrix AI. The Weeknd AI. And people will accept these. This is all about the attention economy. You know, when people ask me about AI, I'm like, they're just massive pattern recognizers. They retrieve and remix, and that's it. They basically can only do the things that they're trained on. Are they going to be J.S. Bach? No, they're not. Are they going to be John Coltrane? No. Are they going to be the Beatles? No. They're not going to be able to create, in spite of what a lot of people will say, and I'm sure plenty of people in the comments, they're not going to create things beyond what they're being trained at.
And thank you, Rick Beato. We've been watching Suno sort of take the lead here, and that just happens to be our lead story. And the headline is Warner Music Group strikes landmark deal with Suno, and it settles copyright lawsuit against the AI music generator. And this is by Murray Stassen over at Music Business Worldwide. So Warner Music Group and AI music generator Suno have struck what they call a first-of-its-kind partnership.
Yep, they claim the deal will open new frontiers in music creation, interaction, and discovery while both compensating and protecting artists, songwriters, and the wider creative community.
Yeah, the deal also settles previous litigation between the companies. Artists and songwriters, according to the companies, quote, will have full control over whether and how their names, images, likenesses, voices, and compositions are used in new AI-generated music.
So in 2026, according to the press release, Suno will make several changes to the platform, including launching new, more advanced, and licensed models.
Yeah, the press release also said that when the new models launch in 2026, the current models will be deprecated. Moving forward, downloading audio will require a paid account.
So Suno also says that it will introduce download restrictions in certain scenarios. Specifically, in the future, songs made on the free tier will not be downloadable and will instead be playable and shareable.
Paid tier users will have limited monthly download caps with the ability to pay for more downloads, according to the company. Robert Kinsel said that AI becomes pro-artist when it adheres to our principles, committing to licensed models reflecting the value of music on and off platform, and providing artists and songwriters with an opt-in for the use of their name, image, likeness, voice, and compositions in new AI songs.
Well, the news arrives just days after Suno closed a $250 million Series C round at a $2.45 billion valuation.
Warner Music Group also settled its lawsuit with Udio last week and struck a licensing deal with the company for a next-generation AI music platform coming in 2026.
The settlements and licensing deals come just over a year after the RIAA, on behalf of all three major record companies, sued Udio and rival AI platform Suno for mass infringement of copyright.
Yeah, this is going to be super interesting now that these deals are being struck, and
Yes.
how are these artists going to opt in and opt out, and what can you use and what can't you use? And like that Rick Beato video that we pulled the clip from, are there going to be separate sort of, I want to train on this artist, or I want to have it derived from these artists? It'll be super interesting to see how that plays out. There was a really interesting story from Omar Galaga from CNET, and the headline was, Spotify will reportedly get more expensive next year. Here's what to expect. And we've been anticipating this for a while, Mike. After announcing it's raising prices in regions like Europe, South Asia, Latin America, Spotify is now reportedly about to increase prices again in the United States.
Yep, the U.S. is included in the latest Spotify price hike on its premium services starting in early 2026. That's according to the Financial Times, which cited sources familiar with the music streaming company's dealings. For now, the least expensive premium plans in the U.S. start at $12, but the price hike would likely put it in line with the other regions where the premium plan costs about $14 a month.
I still think that's a bargain.
I do too.
Spotify offers a premium family plan that covers 6 people in the same household for about $20, and plans for students, $6 a month bundled with Hulu, and some for couples that are $17 a month. Spotify also offers a basic plan that doesn't include access to audiobooks for $11 a month. A representative for Spotify didn't immediately respond to a request for comment.
No. Well, and the next piece is from our friend Jem Oswald. It's an op-ed for Variety. It's about time Spotify raised subscription prices in the U.S. The gramophone, the transistor radio, the cassette player, MTV, the Walkman and Discman, the iPod, and Spotify. Those are the greatest inventions in the past century of music listening, because they revolutionized how and where we listen, and they enabled us to customize our experience.
Right. Jem goes on to write that in the case of Spotify, it was the consummation of music geeks' wildest dream, a literally unlimited supply of nearly everything legal anyway, you could possibly want to listen to. Back when you had to pay for music, $11.99 bought an old discounted CD, and if you didn't like it, you had to try to find something wrong with it so you could hopefully exchange it for something else, or just suck it up. I remember being a kid fantasizing about being able to listen to every record in my local record store, and then suddenly in 2011, I could.
Right. Spotify's true genius wasn't only in ubiquity and providing a nearly limitless library of music. It convinced a generation that was used to getting music for free via illegal downloading that it was worth paying for. It single-handedly saved a music industry that had been in free fall, that literally lost half of its value, falling from $14 billion to $7 billion in a handful of years. And within 3 years, profits were rising again.
Yeah, musicians and songwriters who had been losing money by releasing music began making at least something rather than nothing, even if it was literally a fraction of what they'd been making from CD or vinyl sales. But the major music companies and Spotify were living off the fat of the land again.
And therein lies the problem with streaming. With an average of only fractions of a penny generated per stream, only the top streamed artists can make a living. And with approximately 25% of those fractions going to the song's usual multiple songwriters and publishers, they make dramatically less. So where is your $11.99 going?
Well, if you look at Spotify, it's easy to think that it's going into the pockets of investors and the purported evil genius behind the company, co-founder and chairman Daniel Ek, whose estimated net worth is $8.5 billion. The company throws lavish parties and lots of free stuff, and its grandiose offices. Inexplicably spent $300 million on sponsoring Barcelona's soccer team, claiming that there was value in having its logo and artist names on the players' uniforms and other signage. It even spends exorbitant sums on things that are extremely cool but fiscally indefensible, like renting out all of the advertising space in the Broadway Lafayette subway station in New York, and creating month-long mini David Bowie museum. Ex-Silicon Valley mentality, obsession with market share and frequent foot-and-mouth statements has contributed vastly to the company's image problems.
Right. Well, yet much of what people consider evil about Spotify is actually the fault of the major music companies. In most cases, that's who Spotify actually pays, and that's who determines just how much of those portions of pennies the artists are getting. In an even more flawed system, publishing and songwriter earnings are set by the government. And although the National Music Publishers Association and pro-songwriter organizations like the Songwriters of North America and Nashville Songwriters Association International have done a Herculean job of lobbying to raise the paltry rates that songwriters receive, it's still nowhere near enough.
Amen, brother. And Jem goes on to write that despite its size and might, Spotify has little leverage over music companies. Eck has had to give them shares in the company in order to launch in the U.S., resulting in a massive profit when Spotify went public in 2018, that some majors eventually grudgingly shared with artists, once they got called out. And they own or distribute most of the music that Spotify is nothing without.
Well, so despite Spotify's flamboyant spending and efforts to save money through bait-and-switch tactics like automatically granting audiobook access that few people want in an effort to diminish the royalties they pay to music companies and musicians, this terminally unfair streaming economy is not its fault, although the company is rarely making it better. After all, Spotify paid out $10 billion to the music industry in 2024 and $60 billion since 2008. Musicians and songwriters may well be wondering where their share of that $60 billion went. The entire streaming economy needs to be reinvented.
Right. And Jem goes on to write that streaming payments, including Spotify's, are based on an artist or song's percentage of Spotify's total global streams, which is why it favors superstars so disproportionately. Countless alternative methods have been proposed, most often the per-user model, whereby you pay only for the artist that you listen to. But they haven't been adopted because they're flawed or impractical or too easy to game, as if the current system isn't rife with scammers, right? There are vast oversimplifications, but largely accurate. Something has to change.
Right. The music companies claim, often convincingly, that they're working on a more equitable solution for musicians, songwriters, and themselves, and point to the streaming companies or the government as the culprit. But the current system is too weighted in their favor for them to work hard to make it more equitable who make the product, that they sell.
Right. Meanwhile, Spotify itself fights to prove that it can be a profitable business. The other top services, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, have core non-music businesses that generate unimaginable profits, so they can afford to lose money on music. Spotify doesn't have anything except podcasts and audiobooks.
Right. So Spotify, please raise subscription prices in the U.S. Just make sure that as much of that extra revenue as possible is going to the people without whom you are nothing, musicians and songwriters.
Yes, sir.
Nice piece by Jem,
yeah,
for sure.
Great job, Jem. And our last article this week that we want to cover is from Kristen Robinson at Billboard. And the headline is, iHeartRadio executive says company won't play AI music or use AI-generated personalities, and that was in a staff memo. So iHeart's Chief Programming Officer and President, Tom Pullman, he sent a letter to the staff last Friday, obtained by Billboard, pledging that the music company won't use AI-generated personalities or play AI music that features synthetic vocalists pretending to be human, among other promises.
Well, the pledge marks the beginning of iHeart's new Guaranteed Human program, which also see the company publish only Guaranteed Human podcasts, and that's according to Pullman's letter.
Interesting. So starting Monday, November 24th, Guaranteed Human is a core part of our brand, Pullman wrote. You'll hear it in our imaging, and you'll want listeners to feel it every time they tune in. iHeartRadio DJs must now add a line to their hourly legal IDs about being guaranteed human. Remember, this isn't a tagline, it's a promise, Pullman added, and it's part of every radio station's personality.
So news of the Pro-Human Content Initiative comes after recent headlines about the growth and increasing indistinguishability of AI-generated voices, songs, and podcasts. According to French streaming service Deezer, 97% of participants in a recent study could not tell the difference between AI and human-made songs. The platform also estimates that 50,000 full AI-generated songs are added to their service every day. Billboard also recently revealed that AI music company Suno is generating 7 million tracks a day.
Kristen goes on to write that in terms of radio DJs, an AI radio personality called DJ Tori has taken over the undesirable overnight and weekend shifts at a hard rock radio station in Iowa called KFMW Rock 108, according to Rolling Stone report. Her voice and image, that of a fashionable tattooed rocker, are both AI generated.
Meanwhile, will.i.am launched Radio.fyi, an interactive AI radio app featuring synthetic voices that tell you about the songs that are playing. Spotify also continues to push its AI DJ feature, programmed based on the voice and persona of one of its employees.
Yes, it does. In the world of podcasting, a company called Inception Point AI, founded by a former Wondery executive, has more than 5,000 podcasts and is generating 3,000 episodes a week at a cost of $1 or less per episode.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Well, to underscore his point to iHeart employees, Pullman added some stats, including that 70% of consumers say they use AI as a tool, yet 90% want their media to be from real humans, and that 92% say nothing can replace human connection. That's up from 76% back in 2016. You can read the full letter in the article that's in the Your Morning Coffee newsletter. So do check that out. And Jay, I am struck as we're reading these stories and talking about them today, how quickly everything has just kind of gotten to the point where we are. It's really like in the past 2 years, and here we are with the majors already having deals with a lot of these companies. I mean, it's gone remarkably quickly.
Yeah, and we're just getting warmed up. I mean,
yes,
you know, I've been taking classes on AI. I've been trying to learn as much as I can, and I highly encourage everyone to do the same thing because it's changed while we've been having this conversation. It's moving very quickly. If you are a musician, or work with musicians, please check out Bobby Owsinski's The Musician's AI Handbook.
Yes.
It is a fantastic resource. If you want to dig more into AI, Mike and I have done 2 separate episodes we call our AI Roundtable with some of the smartest people in the business to discuss some of these things about where AI is going, things like attribution, remuneration. Check those things out, but you're absolutely right. It is moving fast.
It is moving fast indeed. But it is time to wrap up the show. We want to thank our sponsors, Hypebot and Bands in Town, for their participation. Could not do it without them. Music is by the Licorice Quartet. And if you do enjoy the show, please just tell one friend. Jay and I would certainly appreciate that. So on behalf of my good friend Jay Gilbert, I'm Mike Etchart. Thanks for listening in, and we'll be back next week on the Your Morning Coffee Podcast.
You've been listening to Your Morning Coffee, the weekly music news program for the new music business. Join Jay Gilbert and Mike Etchart next time for the digital music news you need to know.